the new cinematic, ladies and gentlemen. We've been waiting for this for a while. 1 minute ago, we got this. The Scale Commander Sarkareth finale cinematic. Let's see.
I was your loyal soldier, Father. Did I not uphold your legacy? Was it all just an illusion? Empty promises, leading us only to oblivion.
I can see why people think it's a little anticlimactic, but I don't think this is the actual finale. That's the time I think you and I and everyone else that saw this sort of went, ah, really? This is it? But of course this isn't it. Have you ever seen a raid finale this short? No. This makes me think Blizzard have something planned for Mythic. Like, the big one is Mythic. I'm not gonna say that I don't know if there will be a secret phase on Mythic. Blizzard have always said that they sort of don't want to do secret phases, but it could be. It could be that is because we know that there are still files that's completely encrypted. Like, no one knows what is in those files. So it is possible that Blizzard have some kind of secret phase, but it's more possible that I would argue there's a cinematic that's still locked behind the Mythic campaign, and the reason for it is we have 5 and 6 that opens this week, chapters 5 and 6. Chapter 7 only opens next week with Mythic. The fact that he points to the stars, and we know that in that room that you're fighting him in, there is a place that, or a pool rather, that looks very much like the Circle of Stars. And him then pointing at the stars. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I still believe that there is something more going on here. As I said in the previous things we watched, Neltharion was clearly preparing for something. Neltharion knew that there was a war coming, and that if he didn't prepare, they would not be able to save Azeroth. And I think that is part of the things that drove him to madness, was the fact that Alexstrasza would not listen to him. Let me read this to you guys again. To witness the earth waters shape the land and draw forth the potent magma that will power his laboratory was inspiring to us all. The Jordan seek to drive us out, but the Dragonslayers stand alone and have no hope of victory. The Master says a great war is coming, and that he alone can protect Dragonkind. Until our queen can be convinced that he is right, we must labor here in secret. Which suggests that if Alexstrasza had actually listened to Neltharion, when Neltharion warned her, perhaps Neltharion would not have gone as far as he did. Perhaps he would not have ventured into Shadow. But the fact that Alexstrasza would not listen, the fact that Alexstrasza believed the threat to be contained, suggests that Deathwing realized he had no other option. The dragons would fall if he did not try his best to basically gain power where power could be gained. The question becomes, what war are we referring to here? And Living Landoms, yeah, we've watched the new cinematic. It's very short. It's basically just Sarkareth sort of coming to the realization that Neltharion clearly didn't care. I still believe there's something bigger coming. I will hold that copium, right? I'll go with the copium angle, and I'll be like, there's a massive cinematic coming. We just have to hold on, right? Just keep blue balling yourself, you know, play a little, then stop. Keep edging yourself because it is coming. The big release is coming next week. That's my copium angle right now. Did I say 38 minutes? I mean 38 seconds. My apologies. Goals would be so lucky for 38 minutes. I think they cared too much about redeeming WoW to have that be the cinematic. It will almost never be the cinematic. I mean, Blizzard knows how much players love cinematics. There's no chance that Terran Gregory would have this be the final cinematic of the expansion, of the patch. No chance. They'd unlock the cinematic behind a raid, but a post-raid quest chain. Apocalypse, that's kind of what I said. How you doing, bro? That's kind of what I said at the beginning. Because we know that Chapter 7 opens up, and that cinematic is what opens the big boy, right? That's the big cinematic at the end of that quest chain. I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest the cinematic that we're going to see most likely Iridikron getting the flame that he sought, successfully now having used Sarkareth as a conduit for our attention so that he could get the flame that he sought. We're going to see Farak completely succumb to the Shadow Flame and to the dangers of it. And Farak is going to be set up as the next big bad. Like the next clear big bad. I don't know what Farak is going to do yet, but I think that's the cinematic that we're going to see next week. First boss is dead, so we might see Mythic Phase before we get 7. Psycho, we're almost... Yeah, we might, actually. But what I meant was, it's clear that... Actually, no. Now you're making a good point. So I was actually wrong here. Never mind. I'm going to amend my answer. So let's imagine that the last 30 seconds didn't happen. Because I completely forgot that Blizzard actually opened all of the difficulty settings on the same week. Because that's pretty weird. You can't blame me for forgetting that. It rarely happened. In the past, at least. Chapter 7 clearly is the aftermath of everything. So... Yes, we're basically, I think that's where the main cinematic lies, is at the end of Chapter 7. And I don't know what Chapter 7 is going to be, but it's most likely going to have to do with Farak. Because now that we've taken care of Sarkareth and Aberrus, the only real problem remains for Farak. And whatever Farak is going to do. The question I have for you, do you think patch 10.1.7 adds another new zone to the game? And if it does, where is this zone? I'm not entirely sure. We can check. So here we go. It does a new zone. Yeah. New zone in patch 10.2. New zone. Now, if all things hold true, part of that new zone should already be introduced, or at least the lead into that new zone should at least be introduced in 10.1.7. In 10.1.7, we will already have enough to know what the new zone is going to be. Because 10.1.7 is the prequel to 10.2. If all things hold, right? You think the Emerald Dream. The only way the story would take us there... Now. Where do dragons go upon their deaths? We know it's not the Shadowlands, because if you play the Green Dragonflight storyline and you go back to fetch Ysera, I can't remember what the green dragon is, but a very old green dragon wants to give his life in exchange for Ysera's. The Winter Queen effectively says, nope, you can't be here, because this is not for you. Even though green dragons are of life, so if dragons did go to the Shadowlands, green dragons, part of the life cycle, would almost definitely go to Ardenweald. But according to the Winter Queen, dragons do not belong in Ardenweald. The green dragons do not belong in Ardenweald. So, therefore, another green dragon cannot take the spot of a green dragon. And therefore, Malfurion is the only one that can actually give his life, because now Malfurion would belong in Ardenweald. So, that's a fair trade as far as the Winter Queen is concerned. So, where do dragons go? We know it's not the Shadowlands. The lore before the Shadowlands happened. So before the Shadowlands took place, the lore seemed to suggest that upon their deaths, dragons return to the world tree inside the Emerald Dream, where they then serve as watchers over the dream. So dragons were tied to the Emerald Dream. And then, of course, Shadowlands happened, and a lot of people sort of went, well, since Ysera is there, that means dragons go to Ardenweald. But then Blizzard did put that right in Dragonflight, saying, no, dragons actually don't. So we still don't really know where dragons go, so we have to revert to the original lore that suggests they go to Ganir, and that's where they spend their time. Now, if dragons go to Ganir, there's a good chance that proto-drakes go to Ganir as well, since in my estimation, natural beings upon their deaths, so natural beings from Azeroth upon their deaths, go into the Emerald Dream. It's where Azeroth keeps them safe, especially the ones that are intricately tied to her, much like what the Proto-Drakes would be. So there is a chance. Now, let's go. This is big brain. This is big brain speculation time. Do you guys remember the Rift of Arm? The Rift of Arm, Malfurion goes into the Emerald Dream and he's cleansing the corruption. He wanders upon this giant chasm within the Emerald Dream. And what he feels down there, the corruption that he feels down there is so intense that it scares him. And he knows that whatever is in there is so great, it's so powerful, that he can almost definitely not cleanse it. And so instead, he simply seals it. Some kind of danger lies within the Rift of Arm, but he's not even going to try to deal with that. He's just sealing it away. What if that's Galakrond? That makes sense why we would be going to the Emerald Dream, because Iridikron is going to try and summon Galakrond back. And in order to summon Galakrond back, he needs to go into the Emerald Dream. That's what that's my thinking on it, at least. Which means, if we're lucky, we get to see Galakrond this expansion. Not gonna lie, I do want to see that. Butterbean's not necessarily. Because the Elemental Lords are still there. The only Elemental Lord that's gone is Ragnaros. All of the Ragnaros and Alakir. The Therazane and Neptulon. According to the in-game lore, Ragnaros and Alakir isn't actually dead. If you do the quest campaign for the allied race campaign for the Dark Iron Dwarves, there's a Dark Iron Dwarf there that basically says Ragnaros will return. I'm gonna go back to my original speculation, which is you cannot kill the Elemental Lords. They are eternal. No matter where you kill them, they will always be able to come back. It takes time, right? And it can take a long time for them to come back, but they are natural. They are natural outflows of the world. So no matter how many times you kill them, they have to come back. You would have to end the entire element for them to disappear. The Shaman Order has it too. Apocalypse, that's true. I would argue Iridikron doesn't have to bring them back. In my opinion, the thing that's most likely coming back is Galakrond. Especially since they've already told us that we might see Galakrond next patch. Purge the world in fire. Yeah, Ragnaros does seem to want to purge the world. That seems to be the only thing he cares about.